What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Golden Dunkers Live. I'm your host, Kendal Shell, and today, a very special guest, one of my old teammates, my roommate, former gopher, former Coach Tubby Smith player, former Richard Pitino player, even former current Coach Ben Johnson player. So, without further ado, Mo Walker, what's going on, Mo?
Not much, Phil. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, man, for sure. Where you at right now?
Right now I'm in Leicester in the UK. It's a city about
UK.
2 hours from London. Good vibes over
Okay.
here.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I guess we'll go into that because I think there's a lot. There's a lot that fans and a lot of people want to know about that overseas life, But to get started, thanks for jumping on. I know everybody is always interested in players that they've seen in the past and just trying to see what they're doing right now. So first off, just appreciate you jumping on. Let's get started here, man. And let's first, before we get into the Gopher playing days that everybody remembers, right? Minnesota across your chest. Before we get into the UK stuff, let's talk about those early days a little bit, man. Just to kind of bring people up to speed that may have just been a Mo Walker fan once you got to college. How did you get that basketball in your hand to begin with, right? Talk a little bit about those early hoop days and what got you to this point.
Well, my parents were both basketball coaches at a young age. Also, my brother, who's 3 years older than me, played basketball. So, being young, being in the gym often with my parents, and having my older brother be that role model and that person that played before me, I kind of just looked up to him, and I wanted to do the same things that he did. So naturally, I just picked up a basketball. And coming from Toronto, not many people during my time were being recognized, or like, we always had talent, I felt like, but there wasn't much recognition. So I mean, I think when I was coming out, the only two NBA players we had were like Steve Nash and Jamal McGlure.
Okay.
So yeah, early on, going to high school in Toronto. After high school, I decided to go to prep school for 1 year, just for that recognition that was being missed out in Toronto. So I went to Brewster Academy for 1 year. Ended up getting a lot more offers than I had. Also, kind of introduced me to the schooling because schooling education system is different from Canada, United States. So I
Right.
took that year just as an adjustment to get used to the basketball and the schooling, and ended up working out for me because I got offers from a lot of different schools, and Minnesota happened to be one of them. And
Okay.
Smith came to a bunch of games, came to my house, offered me a scholarship.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, we'll go a little bit into that Tubby stuff. You talked about Jamal McGlure, Steve Nash, people in America, we think about like Vince Carter, obviously, and now the Raptors kind of winning recently. It's been your time, your time. I don't know if a lot of people realize, you were around a pretty transformative time, right? Obviously, I feel like Vince started a lot of it, but you got some guys that you played with that were around there, played Division I, and probably a lot of pro guys right now, right? Talk about that just growing up in
Yeah.
Toronto and that basketball culture.
Of course, Vince Carter was the start of the culture, really.
Yeah.
But since then, like a lot of guys, paved the way for me. Guys that most people probably won't know. A guy named Javon Shepard. He ended up going to the University of Michigan. He was also from like my neighborhood. So just having like a couple guys that went Division I and be able to look up to them was really what paved the path for me and people my age. So once you get down to like my age and the years younger, we have a lot of people now. Corey Joseph, Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
We had Andrew Wiggins. A lot of guys coming out of Canada. Jamal Murray, Shea Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys coming out of Canada. So like I said, the talent was always there. It was more just having the spotlight on us. We
Yeah.
didn't really know about AAU. We didn't really know how to get out there for the coaches. So I think my
Mm-hmm.
era was really like the start of that wake up. Like Toronto's
Yeah.
kind of out here.
That's what's up, man. Y'all got some hoopers, Corey Joe, all those guys. Yeah, that prep school move for you, like I'm assuming, like that was big, and now prep schools are, it's way more so the norm. Like back then, it was probably like your Oak Hills, your IMGs, and your boosters, right? But now it's growing. I mean, I guess leading off of that, right? You had to be seen at some point. So like, that Gophers path, right? Like, talk about getting here. You talked a little bit about earlier Tubby being in your living room, but like, was it Tubby? Was there some other assistants? Like, one, talk about getting here to the Gophers, and two, like, I mean, you were a sought after recruit, right? So I mean, you talk a little bit about just kind of recruiting battle too, and I guess ultimately what made Minnesota win.
Yeah, that prep school move was huge for me in terms of my recruiting.
Right.
I had some schools out of high school in Toronto, but just not the schools that I was looking for at the level that I was looking to compete at. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Tubby was the first coach to show interest. I met with Tubby a couple of times. Coach Jersa,
Hmm.
Coach Jersa a couple of times was sending me mails, giving me phone calls often.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole coaching staff just showed me a lot of love, and I had a couple of schools that I was really considering, but it was really just that family feel that Tubby gave me when he came to my house and just sat in my living room. It felt like he had known my parents for years. It was just like that
Yeah.
ability to relate to different players and their parents and whatnot. On top of that, DeVoe Joseph, fellow Canadian, one of the guys that also paved the way for me. Um, he
Yeah.
was he was uh he was going to the University of Minnesota, so I was looking forward to just being with somebody I knew, being with somebody that felt like family and just was somebody familiar. So those two factors, along with being in the Big Ten, great competition, Nike school, all those things kind of weighed into my decision, and I ended up choosing Minnesota.
That's what's up. Yeah, man. I think like we all can agree, and a lot of our parents can agree that the relationship Tubby had, you know what I mean, with our parents, with the fam, like it made parents who had to send their kid to a different country like you more comfortable, you know what I
Comfortable,
mean? Like
yeah, for sure.
it was way more comforting, I think. So yeah, it was definitely a time. I mean, you made that move, seamless transition. I would say, obviously everybody has their bumps, I'm sure, but like I mean, talk just quickly man, about that culture. Like, were there any changes? What was the biggest difference? Like, what food were you missing? Like, I know it was something like that culture change from growing up to
uh,
just
uh,
American
just
in general in Minnesota.
just my Jamaican food, really. It's just my family's mostly
Yeah,
Jamaican, so just that culture was mostly what I was missing, and being away from friends and family. But guys like you, I lived with you for some years, and you just build relationships, and
yeah,
over time you kind of just forget about those friends and
you do.
family until you go home or until it's close to time to go home. So I think,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, the weather was pretty much the same. There wasn't really much I missed other than my family and friends. To be honest,
Right.
it was good vibes in Minnesota.
Yeah, no, that's once you get into it, I feel like you're good. Like you said, you
Hmm.
kind of develop your own little crew, your own little family there. And yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like even through time, like us, you red shirts, you being kind of around us more so.
Hmm.
As a Tubby Smith recruiter, I feel like even throughout all the 4 years, even though Tubby wasn't there for 4 years, we kind of still stuck together in a way, right? Like
Yeah, for sure.
coming in together and
Came in together. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, we had a connection, right? We had a connection, and that was just through Tubby time, Tubby water, whatever you want to call it. But like one of the things, I mean, I guess lead off of that, man. Like everybody asked, right? Everybody asked, and he was very high on you, hard on you, intense, right? Like just
Mhm.
talk a little bit, man, about obviously a legendary coach. Will have his number. I mean, his jersey retired, University of Kentucky. Um, he's a legend, right? Like, I mean, talk about playing for somebody like that, right? Somebody that actually is really a household name in the industry, and somebody that's just been around for so long.
Yeah, I think playing for him kind of well, I think playing for him helped me develop into a pro because
Okay.
he's like a old school by the book. Like if you work hard, this is just what you're gonna get, and like I feel like that's what really stuck with me over those years is that just that old school, just grind until
Yeah, yeah,
until there's nothing left really. So like yeah, I feel like The style of play was also pretty different than what ended up being with Pitino. But I think just all the contrasts and things, I feel like ultimately helped me become a pro. Just his mentality and his style, and even the way he deals with players. Just like you got to know how to, as a coach, you got to know how to like deal with and talk to certain players. And I feel like the way he dealt with me was always just like he cared about me
Hmm.
before the basketball. So that's I mean, that was great playing for Tubby Smith. I really enjoyed those years.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a grind, man. It was, and I mean, we had some good games. We had some good seasons, right? We had some good memories to that time.
Yeah, stormed the court against Indiana.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of good memories.
no, yeah, for sure. I mean, even the last little run there before Coach Smith was let go, like the NCAA tournament run, like
Yeah,
a good upset win, close one after that. Like it was definitely a good time. It was a grind, and he was a good dude just to teach you about hoops, but like obviously it came with life stuff. Like it just like there was one time where he didn't start a meeting or a film session about something that was pertaining to the connection between hoops and life. You know what I
life.
mean?
Yeah, I
It's
think.
like some little things now. Like back then, it's hard, right? Like it's hard. What you saying? What you listening? Like you can't really listen. You worry about practice, about the run, all this other stuff. I didn't get taped, and then all of a sudden you get there, and now like you look back on just random stuff, and I'm just like, oh shoot.
Yeah, he was
Tubby
really
used to
trying to
say
teach
that.
us some stuff, like giving us wisdom for
Yeah,
life outside of
yeah.
basketball.
No, for real, like real stuff. So I mean, appreciated that. Appreciate that for sure. Not as exciting of a note as Tubby, man, but I mean, talk a little bit, man, about kind of that, that mental push that you kind of have to go through college. Like I feel like that's something that's not talked about enough. The mental health side of stuff, man. Look, Big Leak said,
Yeah, I
what's the
see that.
word?
He said, "What's up with you, my
What up,
boy?"
Leak?
What's good,
Um,
Lee?
talk about yeah, we gotta talk about Leak soon. Talk about the that mental aspect stuff though, like just I don't know, the injury, like what you had to go through, man. Like I mean, just
Yeah,
touch a little bit about that, and like for me, like one of those type of injuries, whether it's ACL, Achilles, anything knee surgical required, like
mm,
mentally, bro, I've always been scared. Like, how do you come back
mm,
and not be afraid to, you know what I mean, do the same
yeah,
stuff, right? Like just talk about that mental aspect of it because nobody talks about it.
yeah. It was a grind, yo. It was a grind. A lot of sad days, a lot of sad nights and stuff. But like, yo, ultimately, it was the staff and it was my teammates really pushing me and like helping me to bounce back.
Yeah.
Like Raj, I remember Raj. I mean, Raj was old school dude, but like he knew what he was doing. He knew what I needed to do to
Yeah.
get back to playing and really push me and made sure like I would be able to play again.
Hmm.
Obviously, those first couple months, first half a year, I would say was really tough, just mentally, just knowing I was actually able to do the things that I used to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that first little push, it was just like riding a bike, really, just being out there, you know. Also, it didn't help that I lost a lot of weight, you know, in that transition, take some pressure off my joints and whatnot. But
Right.
I feel like the biggest thing about an injury is just not limiting yourself to what somebody else may say or like how somebody else may have responded to that injury because
Yeah.
everybody's body is different, you know. So someone could tear their ACL and be done, like they can't return, but like that doesn't limit you as a person. Like, you know, your body, everybody's body is different. So yeah, I just pushed myself through and kept grinding, kept my head down, kept grinding, and it actually helped me a lot in the position I am in now today because the last 2 years I faced injuries. I tore my hamstring 2 years in a row. I just
Hmm.
sit out 2 seasons in a row. And it's like if I hadn't gone through that grind in college and had that belief in myself that I can do this, I might have gave up the game after the second time I tore my hamstring. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't even be here today. So yeah, get to that.
That's a grind, man. Yeah, you definitely went through it, but yeah, it's a testament. You went hard. I think when I first met you, you was rehabbing, so I was just
Yeah,
like, you were
facts.
just on it, and I was like a freshman, didn't know nobody, so I got there like mad early, like to the workout, and he was there already early too. I was like, why he here? What's he doing? Like, nobody else is here. I know I'm early. Why I'm early? But you just had to get to it earlier, later, longer hours, and it took you longer to get places because you was hurt. So like, that was yeah, man. You know, you definitely grinded to that, and yeah, I feel like your body really transformed too. I mean, which we can touch on. It leads a little bit into, you know, different time, man. This is like a
new era.
It's like different era, right? We had the Tubby era, right? And like people always ask, like, what's your favorite, Tubby, Pitino? You know, for me, it's like, yo, like, I don't know, man. I took a lot from both of them. Like at the end of the day, you don't want your original coach to get fired, right? At the end of the day, like, people gotta realize as college athletes, we just gotta acclimate. We get used to it, right? We had to move in at some point and change real quick. And we got the new coach who was like, yo, what we gonna do? We gonna run away from this, or we gonna grind it out? And so yeah, the Pitino era, man. It's the Tubby era, now that Pitino era. Just talk a little bit about early on. Like I know for me, like early on was tough as I gotta watch my words, but playing for Coach Pitino when it came to just from the cardio to a different style, just a different person and personality. Like, whoo! I'll let you elaborate more though.
Yeah, I could say it's a contrast for sure between Tubby and Pitino. Not that, of course, Pitino cares about his players. Like, not that he doesn't care about his players, but he didn't make you feel the way that Tubby made you feel he cared. He cared in a different way, and he cared by pushing you basketball-wise and getting the most as he could out of you. And for me, ended up being a blessing. You know, he gave me an opportunity to play, pushed me to lose the weight that I needed to lose, pushed me to, you know, be the best player I could be and really, like, thrive in the system. So in terms of the X's and O's, I think he was a lot more new school, a lot more up-tempo as opposed to Tubby Smith. And I feel like ultimately that helped the players because we all got, you know, we're playing fast. So everybody's taking more shots. We're getting more opportunities to look good and do things out there and feel like you're contributing. So, I mean, the two styles are way different, but yeah, I definitely took great things from both of them. I mean, Pitino is way more in terms of X's and O's and almost like now as a pro, I can kind of remember the plays that I liked in college, what worked to get me the ball, what actions I feel like I can be successful in, and yeah, definitely helped me for sure.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree. I really agree. I think like with Coach Pitino, like we, in a way, it was a blessing, right? Like I think you know, major, right? Like in terms of changing our mindset, changing our body, right? Like I was right there with you during that time, and living with you.
A lot of people sleep and don't realize, yo, you were in there with me, like every day too, bro.
It was a grind. Like it was a grind. Like
100%.
The times that I had with you when Coach Pitino first came through that first 6 to 12 months is probably the hardest, toughest, most mentally challenging times of my entire life.
Yeah, I could agree with that, yo.
It was different. Like we went from drinking muscle milk every day to shakes to just lifting as much as we possibly could to just, we do like a couple stairs and leave to Coach Pitino coming in with our new strength coach saying,
whole stadium, not a couple stairs.
The whole stadium. You're running the individual workout on top of a practice, on top of usually they ask you to come get some extra work and then a lift. Rehab was huge, right? Everything, like our schedule, like was just like all of a sudden, like, yo, we don't have enough hours in the day anymore. Like it got tough. And the weight loss times, you know, I think it was huge. It was huge for us, you know what I mean? Like I think I could probably speak for you. Like the game definitely became a little easier, right? Like you started to learn about your body, and I feel like a lot of athletes still like, you know, they don't. It's just always about hoop or the plays or something. Like it's not enough about that your actual personal health with it. And like, you know, I know during that time, our strength coach, legendary guy, was Coach Sean Brown, and so like. I remember Coach Sean Brown like would tell us stuff like, yo, like 5, 10 years when you're not playing no more, right? You got to think about this stuff. And like you never really thought about that as an athlete. All you think about is just hooping.
Yeah, you know, when you're young, you just eat McDonald's, show up to the game, it's whatever. You don't really worry about that stuff. But I think the biggest takeaway was just how to take care of yourself and how to take care of your body and lengthen your career ultimately by what you put into your body, like what you're eating, how you're taking care of, like yourself, stretching and rehab, even just like how to lift. It's like I can go in the weight room on my own and I can just, in my head, I remember this is what I used to do in college. Boom, boom, and just knock out like a Sean Brown lift. It's like, yo, I feel good about it. It's like, yeah, you really take home these lessons with you about how to take care of yourself and how to be a professional athlete. And I feel like that was my biggest takeaway from all of that. And like, yeah, losing the weight, obviously, that helps.
Yeah.
But bigger than that, like how to lose the weight, not just having somebody tell you what to do. It's like I was almost we're in control of our own like destiny. You know, we had our own choices to make, and you know, put us in a position where we have to make the right choices. It's like really critical in someone's development.
Yeah, it really is. They got us right. They made our bodies right, and like you said, I think the biggest thing was how to lift. You know what I mean? Like when I say we was doing muscle movement, we was just lifting. Like, you know, nothing against the strength coach, but I don't think that strength coach we had was specifically for basketball players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when Coach Brown came in, there was and I can't remember the different lifts, right? There were some significant lifts, right? Where there was cleans and some squats that were changed drastically. Like, hey, like this was gonna be better for your body long term. And like now I remember that type of stuff. And
100%.
I remember how important that was.
100%.
No, definitely. And during that time, man, we got room for one quick story. During that time, we both had to lose a lot of weight. It was a tough time. On top, I think the craziest part of the time that people got to understand, we were tasked to lose all this weight the exact same year that Kemba Walker said we go
unlimited meals.
Yeah, Kemba said we go to sleep hungry. So we all got unlimited meals. Literally, as Coach Pitino's coming in, so we're over here seeing these meals, can't eat them, ordering salad, all you can eat salad. Like what? I mean, what? So I mean, going back to it, like we got one story. Like, what's the craziest or just the one thing you remember just about the entire journey of losing weight? Like you lost about like 60 pounds, so I'm sure there's a lot of time in between there.
One story. I mean, the 6 a.m.s every day. I mean, I feel like that would be that 1,000 calories on elliptical every day. Yo, I know you remember that one workout we did at the hockey arena.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I never felt like that after a workout in my entire life.
Sleds.
Yes, that was the worst workout I've ever done. I feel like, and I've never felt that bad after a workout since.
That is crazy how it can be. It's crazy. Like the college hoop grind, and I hear it from pros all the time. Like some of the stuff you've done in the off season in college is crazy compared to a lot of stuff you'll ever do again.
Word.
I remember the workout at Mariucci. That was the first time I questioned like if a body part works still. Like I think the legs work. We couldn't get like. I remember we came over and people thought we were exaggerating because we actually couldn't really walk.
Yeah,
and let alone, mind you, we had a game that night still.
I know. That was crazy. That was the worst workout I ever did. Still, I'll never forget the way that made me feel. I felt like I needed to throw up. Like, yeah, that was bad.
It was bad. No, but I mean, all right. So I mean, that's a few good things from Pitino era. But one thing from the Pitino era that I definitely want to touch on, and you know, there's only a few of us out here right now, and that's players who interacted and played with the current coach, Coach Ben Johnson. You know what I mean? Like that. He was on the Pitino staff. I'm sure everyone knows during that time. And that first year when Coach Pitino came on, he ended up bringing Coach Johnson as well. So, you know, he worked with us a lot through scouts and a lot of different stuff. And obviously right now, Gopher fans or everybody's trying to understand, get a feel for Coach Johnson, you know, how he is on the court. I know I'm out here asking you about how it is to play for 3 different coaches, but you've got that insight, which is really dope, right? Like you've got insight from 3 different college head coaches.
Yeah.
Probably more than that. But I mean, talk about playing for Coach Johnson and how that was.
So with the Pitino era, I would say Coach Johnson is the one coach that kind of made me feel like he was like Tubby, like same as the Tubby era. Like I
Yeah.
felt like he really cared about the players, and I feel like he's like almost the best of both worlds in terms of caring for the players, recruiting hometown talent, but still has the the X's and O's and the push and the drive that Pitino had. So I feel like it's a perfect balance of both worlds, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I feel like, when we were on the guard shooting a lot of the time, like we had our time and we'd go on the end and we'd be getting shots up, and whether Dre or Leak or anybody was like in a cold streak, right? Like Coach Johnson or even Kamani, a lot of time they take that time to just be like positive, like, yo, like what's going on, right? Like just hit it, you know what I mean? And to your point, like, yeah, he asked about off the court stuff and just seemed like he truly cares. And that's when like anyone asks about like how he's gonna do now, it's like, yo, I feel like X's and O's is X's and O's. Like it's only so much you can really change it. It's really like that relationship, don't you think? Like,
Yeah,
how are you
all the
gonna drive
coaches I know jobs are dependent on wins and losses, but ultimately you're developing young men into
Yeah.
people that are going to be out in the world, and they're going to need life skills, and they're going to need to learn lessons, and they're going to need to go through some things and be taught some things. And I feel like Coach Johnson is someone that's been through those same things and has the blueprint, can teach these guys and help them be successful.
Yeah, man. I think it's important, like, for somebody that's been there where we've been. I mean, like, you can play anywhere in the world, right? But it's different in Williams Arena. It's different for Minnesota Gopher fans. It's different for the state of Minnesota. So it's like so many little things that you gotta have to just learn on the fly. Like, he can just throw those little things out there, like, and he can make them comfortable. Like the team right now, I saw a few of the home games, right? Like, wins. Some would say, yeah, they need to get those wins, but it's like the confidence they have out there. It's almost like, Coach Johnson kind of just gave them the little things. Like, this is how it's gonna feel, right? This is when the crowd's gonna get loud. Like, let's get them hyped during these times. Like, that little stuff matters. Like, I even think Coach Pitino for a while, like, at the beginning, he wasn't sure how it was. He wasn't sure when is it that I can get the crowd up and going. Like, and he started figuring that out and getting a lot more, like that. But like, Ben has literally been on the court saying, let's get going, let's figure it out. Like, so now, I can't wait. I know it's gonna be a grind, right? Like, it's new team, Big Ten. Like, people gotta realize it's a tough Big Ten is a gauntlet, though. It's a gauntlet.
100%. It's a tough.
It's tough. It's tough.
Every night, every game is there's no easy game in the league. Literally, there's no.
It's not.
And to go to all these different arenas, I know to play at Indiana, to play at Ohio State, to play at these places it's tough. It's tough with the crowd and the fans and student section and everything going on. Man, yeah, for sure.
It's got. I mean, yeah, we'll be biased, but we'll always say, like, yeah, man, Big Ten the toughest conference, right? You just gotta say it. But playing at some of those arenas, Indiana was the tough. I play Indiana, and Michigan State was right behind. But like, bro, it was so loud. You remember at one point, Tubby, when we were there at Indiana, we tried like the iPad.
Yeah, because we couldn't hear the play calls. He tried to hold it up off the iPad. I remember one time looking up at the shot clock and it was just shaking from just the noise in the arena. It's like wild, yeah.
Bro, and they were there so early.
Yeah, way before the game, warming up, and they're already like yelling at you and talking.
Right, Michigan State used to be yelling.
Yeah, Michigan State was tough. One of the toughest I felt like too.
For sure. Well, I mean, as far as matchups, though, Big Ten matchups, like Big Ten's the home of the bigs too, right? Like, so you played against some guys. Toughest matchup. Who was the toughest matchup? You could be one or two.
I mean, I don't want to say Frank Kaminsky because we played him so many times, it was a rivalry game, and he had the ability to stretch the floor, which at that time, not many bigs were doing. So, yeah, I would say Frank Kaminsky was a tough matchup. I remember going against Noah Vonleh. I feel like he gave me buckets.
Noah. He was
buckets. I mean, AJ Hammonds was just size. I mean, size-wise was just like
Purdue in
You
general,
guys, yeah. Um, but yeah, I feel like those are probably my toughest matchups in college.
man. I mean, Frank Kaminsky to me, and obviously playing him a lot. Stakes always high because it's Wisconsin, but like to your point, he's one of the best players in college that I've just played against. Like, and that's including all stars and seeing like all stars like the Draymonds and all them in the
Yeah,
world. Because it's like you just said, Frank was stretching the floor before it was common and before it was normal. Like everybody else, you're guarding AJ Hammonds, like early on, Jared
yeah.
Sillingers, that was
Nobody else was
back to
shooting.
basket.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I mean, you did your thing out there, right? You stretched it out. You got out there. I mean, at times, like people don't realize, you used to stretch the floor. I think you
Yeah,
started stretching it a little more with Coach Pitino, more of a high-low and more three shot. But you could
yeah.
pursue.
Tubby era, I hit a couple threes. I
Yeah,
remember for sure. Now, I mean, now I stretch the floor as a pro. Like, I could shoot
yeah.
it from outside, but Patino's system and style didn't really call for me to do that. And I was effective inside with my back to the basket or in the mid range. So there was really no call for it.
No, for sure. That I agree. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, man, I mean, I know we're getting late there, so I mean, one more piece talking just about the overseas, man. What you just talked about at the beginning, and I promise we circle back to as far as London, what you doing over there, hoops. Like, I mean, take us through a little bit from when was it? 2015. We were done.
Yeah, 2015, finished school.
2015. I
Uh,
mean, till
did a
now,
bunch of
like, talk about that grind. Talk about just being overseas, like being over in the UK right now, and just how things are going.
Yeah, I can give a quick rundown on my career. So after Minnesota, did a bunch of NBA workouts. Obviously, didn't end up getting drafted. I did my first year in Italy, Pro Series A Italy. It was a tough year for me to transition. We were a young team. Didn't really have any vets. Didn't really have any experience or someone to lean on to really show me the ropes and how to be a pro. How to translate my game to being a professional player rather than a college or university player. And it was tough. So I had a rough year. I ended up moving to a different league in Cyprus just to finish that year. Ended up finishing the year pretty solid. From there, I started the next year in Latvia. I did a training camp in Italy. Um, Somebody at the training camp, his older brother was a general manager of a team in Latvia. He called him up, said like, we need a big. Said I could play, and yeah, I basically signed to the team in Latvia. After the first 2 months, I wasn't really enjoying life outside of basketball, so
Yeah,
I made a move. Ended up coming to the UK with one of my closest friends, Ashton Khan, and I played for a team called Worcester, which is no longer in the league. Had a great year that year, just because life on and off the court was good and easy and comfortable. So, yeah, I had a good year. From there, I went to France, and I did 2 years in France. Two different teams, two different leagues. So I started National One France, played for a team called Saint Quentin, and then the next year I just wanted to move up. So I moved up to a team in Pro B called Charts, and had a I was having a solid year, I'd say, but our team wasn't doing so well. So, just nature of the business, they had to make a move and decided to move me. So from there,
yeah,
I moved back to the National One League just to finish the year, and then the year following, I came back to the UK with Leicester. My first year here, I tore my hamstring right at the end of the summer, pretty much, and I didn't realize how bad it was torn. I just thought it was like, I pulled it. I got out here. They're like, yeah, we're gonna check it out. And when they checked it out, they realized it was torn damn near off the bone. So I had to have surgery. I missed that season. Rehab, grinded. Came back the following season, and 3 games into the year, I tore my other hamstring. So again, back to the same grind, rehab. Because the second time I had known what to go through, and I had known what to expect and whatnot, I ended up coming back a lot quicker than the first time. And yeah, from there, I've been in Leicester since. I finished that year. I ended up playing just in the playoffs that season, and
yeah.
then now here we're starting a new season. We're about I think 10, 11 games in, injury free still,
Yeah.
Granted, we're trying to make a run for the cups and the trophies this year out here in Leicester.
Yeah. How's the experience? How's the fans? How's the team? How's the culture?
The culture over here is growing. It's not obviously it's not it's not soccer here or like it's not as big as that, but it's definitely growing. The league is a great league. It's competitive. Everybody competes from top to bottom in the league. Every team has great talent. Um, but yeah, for me, the main thing about being over here in the UK is just that feeling of like home where I'm comfortable. And for being a pro, basketball isn't always gonna go great for you. But
Yeah.
for me, life off the court is what's important over here, and it's easy to live. People speak English. It's like it's really just like home. So even when stuff isn't going great, it's easy to find greatness in other things and to be able to bounce back.
Yeah, for sure. Is there a big difference in the game, like in the game in general, or is it kind of similar to the American game that you've seen? Obviously, you've been in France too, right? So I mean, you can talk about those spots too.
The game is the game, man. Everywhere, no matter where you are in the world, you got to put the ball in the hole. So the game is a game. I would say the style of play here is really up and down. It's not only a few teams kind of like to play in the half court. Other than that, everybody's trying to get up and down. Obviously, the rules are a little different than America with like goaltending and like certain rules are a little different. But yeah, at the end of the day, the game is the game, and it's the same game that I fell in love with. When I was a young kid. So yeah.
For sure. No, yeah, that's dope, man. You're like you probably don't realize it because you're still in it, but like after like the knowledge, the experiences, the basketball encyclopedia that you've low key become, like it's pretty crazy when you think about your come up in the Toronto era, the hoopers around the Toronto era, your teammates during that time, your prep school era, your normal high school era, right? Your college era, the Tubbys, the Patinos, now a new up and coming coach in Ben Johnson, the different countries you've been to, the injury stuff.
Yeah,
I
yo.
mean, your basketball journey is really nuts. You know what I mean? Like you've done so much with it. It's just like it's crazy. Like and I think the biggest thing, like when you have journeys like yours, it's like, yo, how do I channel everything I've done and give that back to the game in a way? You know what I mean? Like whether it's to the next generation or whatever it may be, but like it's just like it's too much that you've done and that you've experienced that like your word and your knowledge about the game needs to take precedent. Like, it's no offense over a lot of coaches and trainers out there, people that are advising kids because if you haven't been there, if you haven't done it, like it's hard. It's hard to be in that position. So I don't know, man. It's definitely something we got to talk about. I feel like just you in general, like it's a crazy basketball resume that you've got, man. Like not too many. Shoot, look at me. Not too many of us still bouncing that thing.
Yeah,
Like
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that.
for sure. What we got? So not much in here. Like we had auto.
I said, who's my favorite Latvian? Obviously, you, Oteezy.
Yeah, right. We can end on just one question. Yeah, that's from Otto. You said who's your favorite Latvian? Yeah, I mean Otto's brother is cool to me. So you can go with Otto. I'll go with Otto's brother. I feel like
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
that's probably it. That's probably it. But yeah, man. I mean the guy. Yeah. I mean you could touch on that. Like Otto, Leak, like a lot of dudes, right? Like it was. I think the big thing and the cool thing and another piece of it, like the cultures we got to interact with, like as far as teammates, right? Like you being from Toronto, like I learned a lot of stuff about like ketchup, chips, and poutine. You know what I mean? Like I'm a food guy, and so like that, just the East Coast guys like Leak, right? We learned that Malik, DeAndre Matthew, Dre Hollins and Austin from the South, right? People like Otto, like all that. Yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough. Oh, Otto do got a question about food though. What's your
favorite form?
actually? And I did have a. I thought I saw something. It must have went away. So we're gonna do two food questions. I'm seeing. And one, what's your favorite foreign food? I'll let you take that because I don't got one. Two, yeah. So do foreign food and then do favorite Dinky Town food.
Ooh, Dinky. Dinky's different now, though.
I know. So you can talk about stuff that used to be, so they can come back. But
Mm.
foreign food and then Well, I guess my favorite foreign food would be poutine.
Oxtail.
Said what?
Oxtail, little Jamaican food. There's some jerk chicken maybe.
Yeah.
Jerk chicken's good. But my favorite Dinky Town foods. Oh my
Favorite
goodness,
Dinky
bro. It'll
Town
be
food.
tough. It'll be tough. That's a very tough one still because Qdoba was my first love. I feel like I was in love with Qdoba. I'll go there like a couple times a week for sure. And like we had Chick-fil-A. I mean, Chick-fil-A was good because it was only at the student union, so you had to go over there to get it. You couldn't like I would
Right.
say, man, Mesa was great for the late night pizza, obviously. Man, yo, there was so many, really. There was so many. It was great food on campus. Canes was on the west, almost. Canes was over by the hotel. It's far.
Cane's
Another
is-
one it's far, so it's like you only have it every once in a while, so it hits that much better,
Right. Exactly.
Yo, it's so much good food though, but I might have to go with Qdoba just because Qdoba.
Dope
That
is tough.
tastes so
That's tough because Qdoba is like my favorite. Like just in almost its turn, and because of that thing, I think it really became one of my favorite household food names because of campus. But then it's also crazy. It's like I want to do Qdoba, but then also when I think about just campus, it's like I had a special place for Tony's. I know
Tony's,
you
yeah,
did too.
Tony's dying, yeah. I
You was
mean,
there a lot. You had a
yeah,
lot of meat
Tony's.
lovers omelets.
I almost
Woo-hoo.
don't count. I almost don't count Tony's because he catered for us so often. So it's like, yo, we never
It's
really
like
had
he's
to
in
go
a
over there.
yeah, he's in himself. Like he's just it was an automatic. Like what
Yeah,
did the catering, the food, too. It's the catering was clutch.
yeah, facts. Omelets
Was
after
clutch.
practice. What?
Yeah, it was smooth. It was smooth. Tony's are definitely a move. But yeah, that was dope, man. Good talking to you, good catching up.
Appreciate it.
Obviously, man, it's a lot that we can catch up on, but I feel like we gave a little glimpse to the Gopher fans, and we'll have to find another time here just to check in, tap in, see how things are going. Maybe after
After
these
the season,
qualifiers, see what qualify for anything, see what happens, and we can circle back and see what's going on.
cool, bro. Check in with me. Yeah, I'm here. I'd love to do this. Had a great time. Appreciate this.
Yeah. You're on social, right? Twitter, Instagram, so anybody can follow you.
At Big Mo, BIGGGMO. Big with 3 G's. That's it. Instagram and Twitter.
Perfect.
Sorry, I'm starting a TikTok too with some food, with some cooking videos.
Hey, look out for it, Chef Big Mo. It wasn't like I talked about earlier. You just saw how we went off on that tangent in like 2 minutes about food. Food was really important in our lives, so I'll be the first to vouch. You can cook it, so y'all make sure you follow, and that might be what we touch on next. Talk a little bit more about that.
Right.
All right, man. Appreciate you though. Appreciate your time. Thanks everybody for listening. Another episode of Golden Dunkers Live, and we'll be back pregame before the next Gopher game.